Ukraine has just unveiled a secret weapon that has left Russia absolutely shaken, a revelation so dramatic and unexpected that it has already shifted the balance of this brutal war. For months, the Kremlin boasted that nothing could surprise them anymore, that their defenses were impenetrable, and that Ukraine had already exhausted its playbook of tricks. But tonight, the battlefield has changed forever, because this newly revealed weapon has not only shocked Russia's military command, it has sent panic rippling across the Kremlin, forcing urgent emergency meetings and sparking fears of a devastating new chapter in this war. Analysts are calling it Ukraine's game changer, a weapon so advanced that Moscow's generals were caught completely off guard, unable to respond in time as Ukrainian forces struck deep into territory that Russia once thought untouchable. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Please subscribe and like my videos. The revelation of this secret weapon didn't just happen overnight. It was the result of years of quiet development, clandestine alliances, and the pooling of cutting-edge technology from Ukraine's Western partners. For months, whispers had been circulating in defense circles about a classified Ukrainian project, but few believed it had reached operational capability. Russia certainly didn't. They dismissed Ukraine's defense industry as under-resourced and incapable of creating anything truly revolutionary. But the reality was far different. Behind closed doors, Ukrainian engineers, working alongside NATO advisors, were building something that would completely alter the dynamics of this war. When it was finally unleashed, the results were nothing short of devastating. Eyewitness reports from the front lines described the weapon striking with pinpoint accuracy, bypassing Russian air defenses that were thought to be foolproof. Soldiers described the moment as if lightning had struck out of nowhere, with entire Russian supply depots erupting into fireballs before commanders even realized they were under attack. The weapon's speed, stealth, and precision left Russia's vaunted S-400 systems powerless, exposing glaring vulnerabilities in what was supposed to be Moscow's crown jewel of air defense. And it wasn't just the destruction that rattled Russian forces, it was the symbolism. The Kremlin had repeatedly claimed that Ukraine's arsenal was running dry, that Western supplies were dwindling, and that Moscow's victory was inevitable. This strike proved the opposite. Ukraine was not only resupplied, but armed with capabilities beyond what anyone expected. International reaction has been swift. Military analysts across Europe and the United States are openly calling this development a nightmare scenario for Vladimir Putin. If one weapon can humiliate Russian defenses so spectacularly, what else is Ukraine hiding? NATO officials, speaking anonymously, hinted that this might be the beginning of a broader rollout of advanced systems, potentially including long-range strike platforms that could reach far deeper into Russian-held territory. For the Kremlin, this is more than a military setback, it is a psychological blow. For years, Putin has relied on projecting an image of invincibility, a belief that Russia could outlast and outgun any adversary. But with this single shocking revelation, that myth has begun to crumble. The origins of this secret weapon are as fascinating as its effects. Ukraine has long been a hub of defense innovation, even during the Soviet era. Factories in Kharkiv and Dnipro once produced some of the USSR's most advanced missiles and aircraft systems. After independence, much of that industry went quiet, starved of funding and neglected by corrupt leadership. But the Russian invasion in 2014 changed everything. From that moment, Ukraine's defense sector began reawakening, fueled by necessity, supported by Western training, and increasingly funded by urgent wartime needs. The result was a network of engineers and scientists determined to push the limits of what their country could produce. Now, after years of secrecy, the world has seen the fruit of their labor, and Russia is paying the price. In Moscow, the fallout has been immediate. Reports suggest that Putin convened his top military council within hours of the strike, demanding answers for how such a weapon could have penetrated Russia's air shield. Some insiders say the atmosphere was one of pure panic, with generals blaming each other for intelligence failures and security lapses. Russian state media, usually quick to spin even the most embarrassing defeats, has struggled to craft a narrative. Instead, Broadcasts have been filled with vague reassurances and carefully worded denials, suggesting just how unprepared the Kremlin was for this shocking turn of events. Meanwhile, on the ground, the psychological effect has been profound. Russian soldiers, already weary from months of brutal fighting, now face the terrifying reality that nowhere is safe. Imagine being stationed at a supply hub deep behind the front lines, believing you are secure, only to watch the sky erupt with precision strikes that your commanders cannot explain. Morale, already fragile, is now collapsing. Ukrainian soldiers, by contrast, are energized. Videos circulating on social media show troops celebrating, chanting, and proudly declaring that this is the moment Ukraine has regained the upper hand. But beyond the immediate battlefield impact, the broader implications are staggering. Military experts warn that this weapon could alter the entire strategic calculus of the war. For months, Russia has relied on mass artillery barrages and grinding assaults, betting that Ukraine could not sustain its defenses. With this new weapon, however, Ukraine can bypass those grinding tactics entirely, striking at the very heart of Russia's logistical lifelines. Supply depots, ammunition trains, command centers, all are now vulnerable, and unlike traditional systems, this weapon is highly mobile, making it almost impossible for Russia to track or eliminate. Western capitals are watching closely. In Washington, officials hailed the development as proof that continued support for Ukraine is paying dividends. In London, defense analysts described the strike as the first glimpse of the future of warfare in Eastern Europe. Even in Berlin, where skepticism about military aid has been strong, the revelation has sparked renewed debate about increasing arms deliveries. The underlying message is clear: Ukraine is not just surviving, it is innovating, adapting, and increasingly capable of taking the fight directly to Russia. For Putin, this is a nightmare scenario. His entire war effort is built on the assumption that time is on Russia's side, that Ukraine will eventually run out of weapons, men, and morale. But this secret weapon proves the opposite, that time may actually be running out for Moscow. Already, voices inside Russia are beginning to question the official narrative. Prominent military bloggers, usually loyal to the Kremlin, have expressed outrage that such a vulnerability was exposed. Some are demanding resignations at the highest levels. Others are warning that unless Russia adapts quickly, its forces could face a series of humiliating defeats. The question now is, what comes next? If Ukraine has revealed one secret weapon, does that mean more are waiting in the shadows? Analysts believe so. There are strong indications that Kiev has been working on a range of advanced technologies, from hypersonic drones to electronic warfare systems designed to blind Russian radar. If these capabilities are deployed in tandem, Russia's already fragile war effort could unravel at breathtaking speed. The very prospect has sent shockwaves through Moscow, where paranoia about Western involvement is at an all-time high. And yet, while this moment is a triumph for Ukraine, it also carries risks. Every escalation increases the danger of Russian retaliation, whether through intensified missile strikes, cyber warfare, or even threats of nuclear escalation. Putin, cornered and humiliated, may lash out in unpredictable ways. That is why Western leaders are carefully calibrating their public statements, praising Ukraine's ingenuity while avoiding language that could provoke Moscow further. Behind the scenes, however, there is a clear recognition the tide may finally be turning. Ordinary Ukrainians have reacted with a mix of pride and relief. After years of suffering under relentless bombardment, the sight of Russia finally being forced onto the defensive has brought a surge of national unity. Crowds gathered in Kiev to celebrate, waving flags and chanting slogans of defiance. Social media is flooded with messages of support, videos of the weapon in action, and memes mocking the Kremlin's shock. It is not just a military victory, it is a cultural and psychological triumph, a reminder that Ukraine's resilience is unbreakable. The battlefield, however, is unforgiving, and the days ahead will be critical. Russia is already scrambling to adapt, redeploying air defense systems and relocating supply depots further from the front lines. But such measures take time, and in war, time is often the most precious resource. Ukraine's window of opportunity is now, and military strategists believe Kiev will exploit it ruthlessly. Every successful strike not only weakens Russia's military machine, but also undermines the aura of inevitability that Putin has tried so hard to project. Looking further ahead, the consequences of this revelation extend far beyond Ukraine's borders. Across Europe, governments are reassessing their own defense strategies, recognizing that the nature of modern warfare is evolving rapidly. Precision, mobility, and stealth are replacing massed artillery and static defenses. The weapon Ukraine has unveiled is not just a tool of war. It is a preview of the future, a glimpse into how conflicts will be fought in the decades to come. For NATO, this means accelerating investment in advanced technologies. For Russia, it means confronting the uncomfortable truth that its Soviet-era military doctrine is rapidly becoming obsolete. For Putin personally, the stakes could not be higher. His grip on power has always rested on the illusion of control, the belief that he is the master strategist who can outmaneuver his enemies, but this shocking revelation threatens to shatter that illusion. If Russian forces continue to suffer defeats at the hands of Ukraine's secret weapons, public confidence in the Kremlin could erode rapidly. Already, rumors are swirling of growing dissent within the Russian elite, whispers of power struggles, and doubts about Putin's long-term viability. In that sense, this weapon is not just a battlefield tool, it is a political earthquake, one that could ultimately shake the foundations of the Russian state. As the world watches, the drama continues to unfold. What began as whispers of a hidden Ukrainian project has exploded into one of the most consequential military revelations of the war. For Ukraine, it is proof that ingenuity and resilience can overcome even the most daunting odds. For Russia, it is a reminder that arrogance and overconfidence can be deadly weaknesses. And for the rest of the world, it is a lesson in the unpredictable, high-stakes nature of modern conflict, where a single weapon can shift the course of history. The war is far from over. Russia will adapt, Ukraine will innovate, and the struggle for control will continue. But tonight, one thing is clear: the balance has shifted. Ukraine's secret weapon has been revealed, and Russia is terrified. The coming weeks will determine just how far this new reality will reshape the battlefield, the region, and perhaps even the world itself. The question is no longer whether Ukraine can resist. It is whether Russia can survive the storm that has now been unleashed.